He won't stand next to Donald Trump now that the campaign's on. Think about it. He won't allow Donald Trump to campaign for him in this state. And he's willing to pledge his loyalty to Trump in private. Why not in public? What's he trying to hide? Is there a problem with Trump being here? Is he embarrassed?
Oh, dear. POTUS poking Trump with a little stick. Yeah. Brian May from Queen is filling in on the board, everybody. Thank you for coming in, Brian. Are you not on tour now, or are you? Yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
Okay, and also you haven't turned up your mic. That's okay. That's okay. He's used to, what does he play? Guitar? Bass? Yeah, he's not used to, it's his new.
No.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Brian, what?
It should be up. No?
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Good. Chris Lavoie is going on vacation tomorrow, a well-deserved vacation for a week. Yeah. Brian May from Queen will be filling in. Yes, Chris has taken over all Sean's duties, and he just did Sexy Liberal Tour. He's 2 months late for vacation, so we don't want to hear any whining. And I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
No whining.
No whining stuff.
No whining. He deserves it.
Yes, I do need a little bit of a vacation. Thank you.
Okay.
I thank you, Stephanie, for granting me a vacation.
And thank you, Queen, for taking a break from tour. Are we going to keep up this ruse with neighbor?
And Brian May is a famous astrophysicist, too.
Yes,
What?
yes.
Yes, he's like super smart.
This is my neighbor Doug, everybody, who also happens to be a radio engineer. Hi, neighbor Doug.
Good morning.
/ Brian. That's the cover in the neighborhood. Call him neighbor Doug.
He's one of the other celebrities that live in your neighborhood.
Yes.
Yes.
Like we have to call Moby Jim. Just, I don't know, just because. Wink. Okay,
you're
not Moby.
I think Moby has an actual, first and last name. His given name isn't Moby.
Have you noticed that Moby does look exactly like our other neighbor? So when I first moved here, I was like, because I'm good friends with that neighbor. Mm-hmm. So the first time I saw Moby, I'm like, hey, honey, how are you? And he just was like, freak. Don't call me honey.
Like you were offering him meat or something.
He's like, meat eater. Don't talk to me.
Here, I brought you a brontosaurus rib. All right. Okay. What the actual? This is the best tweet ever. Angry staffer tweets, the 24-hour news cycle is good for some things. Monitoring congressional negotiations isn't one of them. Folks, it always works like this. Don't let every twist and turn in the process raise your blood pressure. They will get it passed. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. This is the ugliest sausage ever. My stomach is a mess. And Brian May from Queen doesn't even know where all the fart sounds are. You know what? Here, I'm going to help because a lot of this is new for you. You're used to touring. You know what? I'm going to use my auxiliary machine. Here we go. That's what's happening. That is me watching. Mansion says whatever. Cinema, no. Oh. Thank you, Chris. See? It's a teamwork.
Yeah.
No I in team, Brian May from Queen. I mean, seriously.
That works better.
That sounds like a motorcycle taking off.
That's a very dry fart. The ones we have are wet farts.
Good morning, neighbors.
Are you planning on staying all week, Brian May?
I don't know if he intends to.
Next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He might not even stay till the end of this break.
Thank God those are sound effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. This is wow. So the president is over talking to Democrats this morning.
Yeah.
He's going to 8:30 our time.
He's delayed.
Towards the end of the show, he is going to speak live and then delayed his trip to Europe.
Yeah. He's delayed his trip because of having to speak.
Right. Early this afternoon, he's finally leaving. Okay. So I don't really. What is exactly? This is the latest in this stack here.
Maybe.
That's treason stack over there. That's January 6th. We'll get to that in a second.
There's a lot of that. Too.
Right.
We'll talk about that with Eric Swalwell, who's coming up.
Oh, thank you for that. Yes. And then, okay. Thank you, Brian May from Queen. I'm going to do this for a week. I'm just going to say the whole thing. Because the first time we posted a picture, people were like, oh, my God, Brian May from Queen is Steph's neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so okay, Travis, should we wade backwards? And let's wade backwards in time.
Are we talking about the sausage?
Yes. So would you like some? I'm going to hit some fun facts, Brian May. That's a little hot. Thanks so much.
You spoke radio language. He understands that.
Well, that's a little hot, everybody. Okay, hey, Charlie. Okay. Hi, Charlie. Hi. Okay. My favorite thing about what's going on with January 6th is how you said Congressman Jim Banks didn't make the squad. What is he still doing here? And you said he wouldn't get stuff for an answer, so he's out there like the two cheerleaders in the old SNL sketch who didn't make the squad but show up at the games anyway. That is hilarious. And you said except he's doing nothing.
I'm glad you appreciate my humor, because that remark about the way I greeted Jody, you've got a black mark in my little journal over here.
Listen, I used to do nighttime radio, and if you know how many calls started with,
"Hey, listen,"
could you just keep talking until I finish?
No. I was watching yesterday when Eric Bullock decided to work blue.
Right?
Yes.
That was something.
Something about me brings it out in people. Anyway, you said Banks is doing nothing but demonstrating how smart Pelosi was to keep him away from the committee. Thank you once again.
Was the other one. He was the other one besides Jim Jordan that Kevin McCarthy wanted to put on the committee.
Yes.
I didn't know much about Banks before then.
Yeah. I love that he's trying to pretend he's something, ranking member, and sending ranking member letters like a shadow something. Mm-hmm. Anyway, also my favorite thing is you referred to Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican of CrossFit. That is funny as well. But Charlie, this Rolling Stone piece is really and it's like I said, it's exactly what you expect of these cowards. They're all going, "Oh well, I don't know, it might have been my staff. I don't know, it wasn't me." I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was, in fact, it's very, we have the psychic connection, because I was just writing about Mo Brooks for the blog, which will, be up probably in the next hour or so, about how he's there's a couple of layers of chicken, whatever.
Yeah.
In Mo Brooks, he's throwing his staff under the train, while saying he's not throwing the staff under the train. Today he said that if his staff was involved, he would have been proud of them.
Yes. Oh my God, I know. And how about John Eastman? I wrote the memo,
our hero.
but I'm the hero that stopped this. I mean, you're crazy if you thought anyone was going to follow this. Like, what? Is that an actual defense?
Yeah, they were. I stopped them. I stopped them from acting upon my stupid idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's extraordinary. But so do you agree? I mean, Lawrence Tribe and others are obviously saying it's time to appoint a special counsel. I mean, this is.
Oh Lord, I appreciate that, and I like Lawrence a great deal, and he's a lot smarter than I am on these things. But doesn't a special counsel just add another layer of bureaucracy?
I don't. We will ask Chairman Schiff. I don't know. I just know that
Congress. You've got a couple of congressional committees. You've got, 8 zillion lawsuits all over the country. Bringing in. Yeah. Beltway wise man A, whoever it might be. I mean, to me, it's just it's another bog to step in.
Yeah.
I'm not real sure about that. I do think it's time to start thinking about expelling people from Congress.
Yes.
Well, at the very minimum, Charlie, but I just think that, again, you go, well, right, at the minimum, but they should be prosecuted. I mean, again, Glenn Kirshner tweeted about that. This is, okay. It's hard to believe what you're even reading and taking, and every day first the Willard Hotel story comes out, and then Rolling Stone comes on top of that, and... By the way, Chris, Charlie said if Chris Lavoie does not stop dissing the Willard, I'm going to get very mad. You two have it out.
Yes.
I don't know what you're.
I love the Willard Hotel.
I'm sure, but so many bad things have come out of the Willard Hotel, though.
It's named after a great rat.
Right.
No, it's not named after the rat.
It's named after Mitt Romney. No, it's not.
All right. It's named after the nice Mr. Willard who opened it.
I'm sure
it's called Willard's with an apostrophe. Yes.
Okay, I'm sure the Willard was happy when the Watergate Hotel took over all the glory.
I mean, it's the hotel where for which the word lobbyist was invented.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because they would do deals in the lobby.
Charlie knows everything.
Yeah, they would. Ulysses S. Grant would go to the lobby and smoke a cigar, and the people would come and ask him for favors and stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
And you know what was really great? The same day I threw you at Elizabeth Warren like a javelin in Washington.
Yes.
I told her that story, and she'd never heard it before. I explained to Elizabeth Warren what the origins of the word lobbyist. I was very proud.
That's hilarious.
That is awesome.
And may I just say, because this is all connected, you also launched me at David Corn at the same convention that you launched me like a missile.
Yeah, that
You
was
just
so
why
like-
you can't use me like a projectile, Charlie Pierce. I don't understand. I'm okay.
Why you're long and slender, and there are places to get a good grip.
Thank you. So because I know in your interactions with Jody that you are a teasy little minx, but this story, because this is what we keep going, like, what are they going to get him for? And you said of all the chickens, Kiev and otherwise, are coming home to roost, it seems. First, the FBI raids of Oleg Deripaska, Manafort's old 2016 running buddy. Then on Friday, Rudy Giuliani's guy, Lev Parnas, gets convicted in federal court of violating a whole truckload of campaign finance laws on behalf of, well, you know who. And you said, I can't speak to the eternal punishment of all the miscreants, known and unknown, but this is the element of the previous administration's corruption that I think is most likely to come out in close to its entirety. There are corroborating witnesses. There's the matter of money, which most Americans understand, and frankly, the Volga bagmen back in Moscow don't care whether it comes out or not. It can't touch them. They already got pretty much everything they wanted out of 2016 anyway. I guess I'll take anything at this point. People are kind of like, I'll take accountability on anything, right?
No, I just think that of all the complexities of the criminality in the last 4 or 5 years, the Russian, the combination of financial corruption and political corruption in the Russian thing is the easiest for everyone to understand.
Once again, I over-highlighted on the plane. Everything's important in this piece. But, we start with, Eric, you tweeted, Reuters said U.S. weekly jobless claims hit 19-month low. Labor market recovery gains traction. And you're like, wait, so can't file this under Biden crisis? What's the mainstream media going to do, right?
No. Yeah, no, I mean, they're obsessed with, particularly obsessed with, it's almost in passing reference how the economy is derailed and the economy is in such bad shape. Right. And there is inflation. There is a chain supply issue. Unemployment is for something. The stock market is up. The traditional matrix that the press uses to determine the state of an economy under a president are really quite good. But so they've decided to go to this kind of subdivision, these other matrix that don't look good. And so something like the jobless claims falling to a 19-month low. Yes, that's the lowest since the pandemic started. That most people covered that in about 5 or 6 paragraphs. Doesn't really matter. We're almost at a full employment economy at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but this whole piece, thank you. This is what I've been talking about forever. And we talked about Saturday night, as you know, Wisconsin, birthplace of unions. But can I just give people a little taste? When Republicans launched a frontal assault on American workers earlier this year, the press was right there to help them echo their bogus claims. Both should now apologize for smearing the U.S. workforce, belittling would-be employees for being lazy and living off the government dole as generous unemployment benefits swelled during the pandemic. Conservatives invented a bogus economic theory that Biden had created a nationwide worker shortage. The GOP's Dixonian move to cut off benefits, which cost the state nothing, was supposed to solve the workplace shortage and send Americans dashing out of their homes and back to work when government checks stopped arriving. Turns out cutting off extended benefits has done nothing to boost labor force participation. Will the media hold to account Republican governors who slash much needed aid for no reason? And you say the press also boosted the Fox News storyline by constantly interviewing employers about the worker shortage without giving voice to workers, which produced a one-sided view of the conflict. And you talk about how it filtered down even to local coverage. When you interview all employers, no workers, you're obviously not going to get the story, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gotten better. I think there have been some good deep looks at what is causing this shift. We are living through a cultural and labor historical moment right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the number that freaked everyone out recently was 4 million people quit their jobs
in August.
I think it was August or September.
Yeah.
1 million of them had no jobs to go to. So it wasn't like this was all pre-planned. There is just a massive realignment going on. And it's got absolutely nothing to do with $300 benefit checks that the government was sending them. As I pointed out in my piece in the spring, Republican governors just created this out of whole cloth. It started in Montana, and then 25 Republican governors cut off aid, which they weren't paying for. It was all free money from the federal government.
Right.
And they said, no, the Chamber of Commerce told us we had to cut it off because people aren't going to work. And the problem with the press is, they basically accepted that. And even though economists in real time were telling them, no, this doesn't make any sense. There's
I had this conversation on my vacation, Eric, face to face. Someone's, I was on a little bike trip. Someone was like, yeah, well, we can't get, workers because, they want to stay home and get those government checks. And I just, when you're in your private life, you try not to. And I was like,
I know, right?
Or maybe they just don't want to work for crappy pay and no benefits and get, maybe that.
Well, it's very interesting. At Press Run, I also did a weekend thread about it. And I said, I asked readers if they had done any dramatic labor, workplace changes during the pandemic. And a lot of people wrote back early retirement. I worked places for 20, 30 years. They didn't care about me.
Yeah.
They treated me like dirt. I wasn't getting promotions. The American worker has become insanely efficient over the last 2 or 3 decades. The profits from the corporations have gone through the roof.
Billions. They're making billions. You reference Paul Krugman real quick, just the revolt, the revolt of the American worker. He said long-suffering American workers who've been underpaid and overworked for years may have hit their breaking point. And you just said, no question, priorities and lifestyles changed during the pandemic. The disruption prompted millions of U.S. workers to rethink their lives, asked whether it was worth staying in lousy jobs. And by the way, this all goes to the legislation we're talking about now. You said hurdles that remain in terms of returning to work include a lack of childcare due to an unprecedented shortage of underpaid childcare workers, a mismatch between the skills employers want. And you said trying to ding Biden with a made-up claim about today's employee shortage, Republicans set out to smear American workers, and the press never should have helped. I mean, But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, and a couple of the important points are, up until like 6 or 8 months ago, nobody would pay $15 an hour. Right. I mean, the industries across the board and business just absolutely refuse to budge that. And then they said, oh, OK, we'll pay you $15 an hour. And people still aren't coming back because they're still shitty. They're still coming back.
Wow. Eric Bollard has never dropped an S-bomb on it. Wow. Nobody saw that coming. Look at this distinguished scholar with the smart guy glasses. Wow.
Eric.
OK. All right. You are correct. They are any jobs.
Yeah, and sorry about that. And but they're still not coming back because they're still not worth it. And you mentioned the Biden, Build Back Better. What's a huge portion of it is childcare infrastructure. It's not a spending bill; it's an investment bill. And one of the things they would be investing in is paying childcare workers, building new, childcare.
I think
if you have a job,
I think that's the most significant game changer in the whole bill. Good morning, Malcolm Nance. What if someone were to write a book? What would the title of that be?
I think the title of that book would be "They Want to Kill Americans: The Malicious, Terrorist, and what is it? The Deranged Ideology of the Trump Insurgency," which should be coming out sometime mid next year because of a crazy printing shortage in China.
Oh boy. Okay. Well. Where do we start with what's currently going on with January 6th? Let me just bring this up because a caller just asked about this Capitol rioter that, attacked Fanone and remember took his badge and buried it in his backyard. This guy. Right. He was allowed to return home as he awaits trial because a federal judge believes he's more likely to become further radicalized in jail. This is your area of expertise, Malcolm. Thomas Sibbick, who was accused of assaulting Michael Fanone, stealing his radio and badge, was ordered released by Judge Amy Berman Jackson after he disavowed Trump and agreed not to watch any more TV news or look at social media. He said the attack was a disgrace to our nation that left a scar Trump is ultimately responsible for. Trump is not a leader and should be ostracized from any political future. What he honestly needs to do is go away. Corrections officers that praised Sibbick's conduct while jailed commended him for getting vaccinated. And the judge asked what inputs drove him to violently storm the Capitol with other Trump supporters. He said it was Fox News. Jackson barred him from watching the conservative network and other political TV programming, released him home confinement to his parents' custody, in part to keep him away from the other rioters in the so-called Patriot Wing of the D.C. Correctional Facility, where he had asked to be even put in solitary, I guess, to get away from these other. So I'm torn on this one, I have to say. I mean, obviously, I've previously respected Judge Amy Berman Jackson, but I don't trust any of these rioters. Remember, he tried to say that the badge got in his backyard by accident somehow, or he didn't mean to attack Officer Fanone. He was trying to help him. I mean, what is your take on this one?
Well, first off, I think it's very interesting. Let's talk about the radicalization of the people who are currently incarcerated. Little historical note. In southern Iraq, after the invasion of Iraq, when we started arresting Al-Qaeda members, Saddam Fedayeen commandos, all of these places, we made the mistake of putting them all in one camp, a camp called Camp Buka, which was down near Qusr, Iraq. I know it. I've been down that area.
Yeah.
And we referred to this place after a couple of years as Jihadist University, or the Osama bin Laden School of Advanced Jihadist Studies.
Yeah.
So
it's a thing. It's a thing. Okay.
Created a think tank for terrorists. They would exchange ideas. They would radicalize. They would pray together. They would bring in new young guys who may have been swept up. That is what the jails in D.C. are turning into. The quote-unquote Patriot Wing, according to the lawyer of this individual, is a radicalization center for Trump, as he called it, cultists.
Yeah.
And that they are in there becoming more radical. These are the guys who refuse to take any plea deals whatsoever, who all want to go to court. They also might be deliberately stopping up the legal system so that the other 1,000 or so people that are being hunted can't be brought in.
So do you think it's a fair ruling in this case? I have some feelings that Frangela are going to have feelings about when the last black person was released to their mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
That violently.
Well, there's a lot of that going around. Clearly there are two justice systems in the United States. There is a white justice system. There's a black justice system. There's just no arguing that anymore. Yeah. It's no longer fair. These people literally formed a rebellion against the United States. We should not be treating them with kids' gloves. They should be getting the maximum of everything.
Well,
however, if we can't house them properly, right? Okay. I think that, first off, this entire thing, the D.C. Circuit should be able to put them somewhere else, whether it's Montgomery County, Maryland, or some other place, in order to stop this radicalization. And maybe the FBI
somewhere less radical, like Gitmo, perhaps. Just spitballing with you. Okay, so I get it. In this case, radicalization may be but I just think it's, you look at this latest John Eastman, who just got subpoenaed, who wrote the coup memo, tried to back away from it, and then just got caught on tape yesterday saying, oh, no, it was great. My reasoning was great. I mean, this is why we keep saying you have to punish it, or this is a training exercise, right? For them to do it again.
You've got a very solid 28% of the American electorate. That's what the Republican hardcore comes out to when you actually put it against the entire United States population. 1/3 of this nation are radicalized, and they think that the government should have been overthrown. We monitor the right-wing chatter and talk, and the talk this week was, how come Sudan can have a coup d'etat where the military overthrows the government and our military is not overthrowing the government? These people have utterly and totally abandoned all attempts at maintaining American democracy. They want a dictatorship, and if they have to have an armed dictatorship, many of them, and I'm sure you're going to talk about the Charlie Kirk comments here soon, but many of them want to use force, and that's why
it's all in the open. Somebody said, when do we get to start killing people? And I mean,
that's why my next book is called "They Want to Kill Americans." They really do.
And you said something terrifying on TV, on Joy Reid's show, as you tend to do.
When doesn't he say something terrifying?
What he's known
But you said we are on the cusp. We are on the cusp of an insurgency. That means there may be more insurrections. And I would just keep arguing that this is ongoing. This is, we're just watching it. They seem to think they go right on Steve Bannon's podcast and tell Benny Thompson to suck it. This is literally. This is what Steve Bannon said, right?
Right. And an insurgency is a long, deep, protracted political and paramilitary operation against the existing government in an effort to discredit and topple that government. That's what an insurgency is. We had an insurgency in Afghanistan. We had an insurgency in Iraq. And what we see here is the political component of this, where they no longer want to participate in American power except to knock that power down. Yeah. They want to topple our government. And so when you hear these people like Eastman quietly say on the slide to to a person that infiltrated his little MAGA world that, yeah, he intended for Mike Pence, right, to come out and stop the election, not certify it so that their minions could go in and overthrow the government. And we're going to get to the point that someone is going to admit that the intention of those rioters was not just to stop the election. There has to be, there's a bridge missing in this story. And I know a lot of you are looking for it. I have the paramilitary and insurrectionist arm of that leading into it, where they were coordinating deeply. And then we have the story of the command post at the Willard Hotel, which was giving direction. In between there, whether it was Steve Bannon, Ali Alexander, the staffers of these congressmen, Roger Stone, we don't know who. Someone is the connective tissue between Donald Trump and his leadership and those insurrectionists who were given orders to do this. They didn't just up and think this. Yeah. There are many, many indications, but it's going to be up to the Department of Justice, if they get off their butts, and the 1-6 Commission to find out, did Donald Trump and his minions order this attack on the Capitol?
Yeah, all of these congressional insurrectionists, I call them, right? Boebert, Green, yes. I mean, Mo Brooks, all of the ones. I mean, Malcolm, do you wear a bulletproof vest to something if you're expecting a peaceful protest? I mean, they're all so dirty in this. And you know, Lauren Boebert's puts out a carefully worded statement, and you said shorter Lauren Boebert. I had no role in the planning or execution, but supporting the actual conspiracy to overthrow the government by force, yeah, that was me. I mean, you know, they are a little bit carefully worded, aren't they, the denials?
Sure. Well, I mean, Lauren Boebert's statement was extremely carefully worded. She had to put something out because people were implying that she took part in the planning of this thing. That doesn't mean that she wasn't a willful idiot. Maybe she didn't do a reconnaissance tour. Maybe she did take her parents around. We know that she did a few days beforehand. She took people into the Congress. And another thing was, she wasn't an elected member, so she actually didn't have that right. Someone gave her that benefit. However, it is very clear she supported the insurrection, still supports the insurrection. So you can't come and say, well, you know, I didn't fight at the Battle of Antietam, but I voted for Robert E. Lee, for Jefferson Davis, and I gave all my money to the rebellion, and say I didn't take part in the first Civil War, right? No, that's not the way it works.
Who is it
when
that
you
said...
take part in sedition, you go, whether you support it or participate in it, you are part of it.
Somebody smart said coincidence takes a lot of planning. The fact that they went by reinforced windows to where they knew the unreinforced windows were, that they went to offices that were not marked, were hard to find, that they panic buttons were ripped out, that they knew where people were moved to. I mean, it is a little too much coincidence, isn't it?
I've said this out loud several times. I think I said it on the 7th of January. My focus would be on congressional staffers.
Yeah.
Of some of these people. We know that there were congressional staffers videotaping from the top of the Capitol and cheering on the attack on the Western Portico. That video's out there.
Yeah.
So, and you saw, what's his name? Who was it that threw his staff under the bus the other day? Was it Gosar?
Yes. No, I'm sorry, Mo Brooks. Yeah.
Mo Brooks, yeah.
Yeah.
He came and said, he really clearly said, I didn't do this, my staff did it. And okay, haul all his staff in.
Yeah.
All of them. This is an internal attack to the United States. That does not mean that because they are members or staffers or have badges. We have spies who have badges all the time. They can be an internal threat to the country.